Ahoy, fellow French womanizers.
And welcome aboard The Joy of Trek, an afterlife podcast exploring the seedy bars and alternate timelines of Star Trek, all of it. I'm Cocky.
I'm Kay.
And telling lieutenants they have no future is your chief engineer, Greg.
Together, we're on a mission through the mean sheets of Star Trek to find the morning after in every bedroom and the excellence in every episode.
Even the surly Nauticans.
Ooh, because every episode must be someone's favorite, and it might as well be us.
So penetrate Jean-Luc from behind and join us as we laugh at our mortality into
The Joy of Trek. Well, now, who can guess which episode this is?
Just look around you.
That's right, it's a Nausicaan.
Tapestry.
Tom Jot.
Tapestry is what it's called.
Oh, I know that.
Oh, okay, we're just yelling things. That's awesome.
Next Generation, Season 6, Episode 15.
1993, written by Ronald D. Moore and directed by Les Landau. A legendary episode in which Kay...
Fairly... Oh, crikey, I completely forgot all about this
I know,
one.
I know. It's so great how you can just do this.
Well, it's just like...
When you're put on the spot.
Yeah, especially when you keep interrupting me. When you keep
I was vamping to give you time to get your thoughts together.
It doesn't work that way. So, I guess an episode in which Jean-Luc Picard gets to join the ranks of Lower Decks.
Ooh! Oh, I like that! And Chief, what, according to the official synopsis, what actually happens in the episode Tapestry?
After being attacked on an away mission, Picard dies and meets Q in the afterlife, who offers him the chance to change a crucial moment in his history and prevent the mistakes he made in his youth.
Thank you. Oh, I remember the quotes last week. Where I think I managed to get it.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, but I hedged on the title. I think.
Right, yes.
I think all of us during
I don't even try for the title because I have no idea what most of these episodes are called.
Oh, there's got to be some that you remember.
Only like a few, like the first one, which I already read the moment that I said, like Escape at Farpoint or something.
Sure.
Inner Light is another one that I'll know the name of because
that's
a very famous episode,
that's a legendary
of course.
One.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
All about Q. Q matters.
Wow. Do you want to try a few more? Because there are so many Q titles, and it's amazing that you're constructing sentences that aren't one of them by accident. Actually, I think matter.
I think one of them is just called Q, isn't it?
Ooh, I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Chief is the one just straight up called Q.
I really thought there was, so I do feel a little bit betrayed by my own memory here as well. So there is not. The ones with Q in the name are Hiding Q, Q Hugh, Deja Q, Cupid, True Q, Q Less, the Q in the Gray, and Q2. But there was not one just called Q. I thought there was, but I was mistaken.
I guess we'll
Can't wait
find out.
To find out.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I did some stats on this once, and I think the word matter is the most frequently occurring word in all of, that isn't like a the or an
right.
or of, because there's multiple episodes start with a matter of a matter of honor. We actually did one of those episodes. It was a matter of honor. Oh no, actually, I think time something with Chief.
We're talking just about the titles, right?
Yeah. Which word occurs the most in Star Trek titles? Just do a quick calculation. No, I'll help you with the spreadsheet.
So when I looked at it, matter only appeared 3 times, actually. All appeared 7 times. The one that I'm seeing the most that showed up that is not a preposition, we're not including prepositions here, is the word one. That appeared 10 times. That appears to be the most used word that is not a preposition in Star Trek titles.
And it must be like someone who's already analyzed this.
Yeah, well, one of those people was me back in the day. Anyway.
Speaking of people, who recommended this episode to us?
Ooh, I'm always excited to find that out. Tapestry was recommended by Bill Ricardi. Hey, an author of some note. Yeah. Bill Ricardi is a writer and quite the hustler on Fiverr as well. Lovely to hear from you, Bill.
Tapestry is all about regrets and the mistakes that become part of who we are, for better or for worse. As an older fan, I often look back on my own life and curse the moments when I handled something badly or miss an apparent opportunity. But this episode reminds us all that the wisdom of age is sometimes just hindsight seen through rainbow-tinted lenses. Tapestry teaches us that we are who we are partially because of our flaws, and that's okay.
That is a really good insight.
That last point is exactly one of the points that I have to talk about in this episode as well.
Yeah, and I bet that a lot of people shared that as well. Now, I recall that there was quite a few responses to this episode, fan letters to the studio that were a lot more critical, that felt like a glorified violence.
All right.
Right, because there's a fight that Jean-Luc regrets in his youth. And some viewers, and everybody's got their own perspective, felt that this episode was stating that, hey, sometimes violence is the answer.
Yeah, no, I don't.
A lot of the producers thought that they missed the point.
Right, but here,
I say we eject the warp core.
Oh,
you're not. I've refused to believe that the Jean-Luc Picard that we see in the Next Generation, during the time that it plays, is not the kind of person who has already made this realization, and that he needs some weird little throw together from Q to make him realize that.
Really?
Yes.
So Jean-Luc Picard, who is famously so in touch with his feelings that he has no problem communicating with other people, that he can just talk about things like sexuality, romance, he can go on holiday, he enjoys the company of children. That Jean-Luc Picard, you think...
Yes, I refuse to believe that he's the kind...
being ironical, Kay.
Right,
Those are not qualities that he has.
Oh, right.
He's
no,
terrible
I
around children. He doesn't go on holiday.
Exactly, but what that has to do with being introspective about realizing that he is the person that he is now because of the way his life went. And sure, everybody has regrets about what they've done in the past. But, and here I come to the other part.
All right.
Q is being, well, uncharacteristically unfair. He's putting up a morality play for Picard. Okay. First, he imposes a apparent regrets in him, like he plays on it, which I assume that, maybe we implied from that we can learn that he does have this regret. Then he makes it hard for him to change that past effect, and then he just extrapolates from that one event into maybe a completely different Picard. So we put the old Picard back in the young Picard for just a moment to change one thing, and then apparently the new Picard, the new old Picard, gets back to being like the person he was and gets to live his life entirely different.
So your warp core for today's episode, and the warp core is something that we use, a bit of context that we need to, sometimes it's the sexual politics of the 1960s, or like your warp core for today's episode is the premise, the plot, and the resolution of the episode that we've just watched.
Just the premise.
That we haven't. Let's do this at the end,
okay?
Right? Because I think that in order to discuss this,
maybe I missed something, but through the entire thing, I found that grating. And I kind of have that all with most of Q episodes, I guess. Because
this is awesome.
Q is just like, he's annoying. And he's annoying, I mean, ostensibly to make them a better person, but he's just doing it to fuck with them, really, isn't he?
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot of discussion at the end of this episode. Let's do this. No, I love this, right? Critical voices are really fascinating. I'm really glad that we've got something to talk about for this episode, because I was kind of worried that, how we have trouble like filling out the 1 hour length that we always strive to.
That's always
really difficult.
Yeah, that's always really hard. Like even the ones it's usually the ones that we're thinking like, this is going to be a short one, and then it turns out not so much.
So what did other people think about this episode?
It's pretty much a well-loved episode.
Yeah, right.
It's hard to find any criticisms on it. Zach Handlen for the AV Club compared it to Quantum Leap.
Oh,
which I guess is true.
With a mirror.
Keith Candido compared it to It's Wonderful Life, calling one of his finest hours of the series. He praised Tapestry for endorsing the Q Picard chemistry at the heart of Q episode. That is absolutely true. And said that Stewart and Lancy play off each other magnificent. Gave it a rating of 9 out of 10. No, absolutely. That is completely true. Don't get me wrong.
So
I don't think
fun.
it's a bad episode. I just think, and I really enjoy the watching Q and Picard get at it.
Oh, yeah.
Together.
Yeah.
But, I think like
in bed together.
Yeah. Yes, well. Yeah. Nerdist ranked it 7th best episode of TNG.
Hell yeah.
And Sci-Fi rated the Nausicaans featured in this episode one of the top 11 most bizarre aliens. And I think,
they haven't seen Farscape.
Top 11 is kind of weird. Now, Farscape wasn't... this was in 2017. So, yes, Farscape did exist at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
But come on. Weirdest... bizarre... What's so bizarre about the Nausicaans?
I know. They just got fucked up faces and 80s hair. They got big 80s hair.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
okay, but they kind of look like a hairband had a predator hairband.
A predator hairband that haven't paid their orthodontic bill, or that have gone to a freelance orthodontist.
Right. Who played the main Nausicaan?
Ooh, I don't have the credits here.
Okay.
Actually, I do have the... no, it's not within reach. Chief, who played the main Nausicaan?
So the main Nausicaan was played by Clint Carmichael, who also played a few Hirogen in the Voyager episode Prey.
That doesn't help you, Kay.
No, it doesn't at all. No.
Not someone I think that we know immediately.
Fair. So, yes, I guess we are ready to... Fly away. Panic in sickbay. Well, no, not panic in sickbay. More like...
Very orderly.
Bring the stasis units in here and have them online. Tell Dr. Salar she can use Ward 3 for the ambulatory patients, and I'll stay here.
Transporter room 4 to sickbay.
We get a gorgeous tableau vivant of an unnamed ensign sitting there, like pointing with his phaser out in a defensive or aggressive pose. You can really tell that this was take 14, because he's really not feeling it too much anymore.
Well, they have to sit still, as they're beaming in. Right, so this is one of those really busy beaming in shots where, like, the special effect is kind of stretched to the limits of credibility. Yeah. But also, like, I'm favoriting some of the gifs in the rest of this scene, as, you know, the med bay is being prepared, where we have Crusher going.
Tell Dr. Salar she can use Ward 3 for the ambulatory patients, and I'll stay here.
Transporter room 4 to sickbay.
Yeah.
They're coming in now.
And she's putting on her coat. Look at what all of her nurses or med techs or the other doctors are all doing. They seem to all have really weird jobs. And then in comes Worf, who is...
carrying Picard,
in the bridal carry. And next to him, there's a medical officer, this woman whose only job is to gently caress Picard's calf. She's not doing anything of use. It's like, the boss says I have to be here, but...
just straightening out his boots or something.
Yeah, it's giving him a quick polish. Because the captain has been attacked by some Lunarians with an unfamiliar weapon.
A compressed Terion beam.
Sure.
Which is apparently very good at scrambling people's internal organs, pulling blood out through their uniform without damaging the uniform itself whatsoever.
Okay. So that could have been a warp core.
Like, my so f***ing cool is definitely not going to the makeup department in this episode.
I mean, how much fun would we have had just watching him walk around with a sucking chest wound for about 20 minutes of the episode? Spends a lot of time monologuing in that. But yeah, he's got
liver and spleen damage.
And they put the things on his head, and he doesn't come back. Yes. And even though she's yelling now, and even though she's yelling again, right?
His respiratory system is shutting down.
They don't say stat.
No.
This is something that I learned. That's something that, like, the television series ER popularized through a misunderstanding, I think it was. If I'm getting this right. But, like, stat is acronym that is used in paperwork, like denoting urgency, but is never said out loud.
Okay.
Until ER popularized it, and now it is.
Right. Yes, I know. I knew it was used in paperwork. I know there's in the Good Doctor. There's a mention at some point that he's very annoyed that when a particular doctor writes out the orders, he doesn't capitalize stat the way it should be.
Oh, I wonder what it stands for.
Oh, I don't know. It basically means immediately, but or as soon as possible.
Yeah, but what does it actually mean, Chief?
So the term stat is derived from the Latin word statum, which means instantly or immediately. So it's directive to medical personnel during emergency situations. It basically means, hey, do this right away. This is not waiting. This is immediately. Yeah, just don't delay. Nothing else is more important. Get it done.
Thank you. Also, you got to be careful about doxing yourself, because this show is rapidly becoming Kay's Netflix queue.
Well, there's very little secrets about my Netflix queue. It's boring as hell, actually.
And suddenly, Picard finds himself in a white void.
Yes.
Where
a beatifically smiling figure is kind of holding his hands out.
Reaches out and he grabs hands with it, and then John Delancey steps out of the high beams.
Welcome to the afterlife, Jean-Luc. You're dead.
Q, what is going on?
He says,
you're dead. This is the afterlife, and I'm God.
I mean, considering the things that you have, that Q has been up to in the past, you know all for a fact that all those statements are not true.
How do you know for a fact?
Because it's Q.
Yeah, but how do you know?
Eh?
Have you seen limits to what he's able to do?
No.
Right? Have you seen like boundaries to where he's going? Like, do you fully understand his motivations? I mean, you clearly have a perspective on that. I do as well. He is an imp, but is he that much of a liar?
Well, he is very. I mean, yes, he's a liar.
Difficulty. Yeah,
I mean, he lies. He lies constantly. Even more so if you count omissions of truth.
but not exclusively.
No.
And the truths that he reveals also stretch credulity.
True.
Right? So the lies that he tells are never more outlandish than the truths that he peddles in.
Right, but you don't know which is which. But
yes,
in this case, there's nothing that his previous behavior has shown that why this would be true.
So Picard says,
You are not God.
to which Q says,
Blasphemy.
Is that actually a correct use of the word blasphemy?
I think so.
Yes.
Blasphemy is the act of blaspheming, as done by blasphemers.
Right, but that still doesn't define blasphemy.
The statement is blasphemy is...
I think it's making statements going against official doctrine. I believe that's the definition of blasphemy.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
And he tests Picard and asks why. And Picard is very reasonable.
Because I refuse to believe that the afterlife is run by you. The universe is not so badly designed.
Well, poo.
Yes. He proves that it's true by imagining up a phantasm of Picard's father, who in typical way chastises him, and then, oh no, it's the lamenting voices of all the people you killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, this is absolutely, it's a very weird throw together of particular mythologies of what the afterlife could and would be like,
Yeah.
It is very much like a human afterlife amalgamation of various things, which again leads me to which again would lead me to the it's like no fucking way, this is for real, you're making this up. No.
From what do you think that he's making it up? Because he's not...
No, from exactly what I just said. Basically what he's making it up from what he thinks that, well, I mean, that's always the problem. That's always the problem with Q. Does he know what people are thinking?
Yeah. Do you think that he can actually look inside your head? No, he doesn't need to, does he? Because he can already look at all the rest of reality.
Right. Yes. So that's pretty much.
Here's something interesting that you're saying. Like, he's just piecing it together from bits of human culture. That's how we create our afterlife. He's not doing anything different than a human would.
Right. Well, yes.
Right?
Totally.
So completely indistinguishable from any idea that a human could have about the afterlife.
Which, in my opinion, would make it. This is suspicious. Because it's way too much like what we would expect, and I doubt that humans are good at creating something, like describing what the afterlife would be. If there is an afterlife, I think it will be nothing like anything anybody has ever said about what it will be like. So if it is exactly what it seems to be, it is probably not the actual afterlife.
Unless everyone gets their own bespoke experience.
Sure.
And why not? Right?
Oh, that would be terrible.
Would it?
Yes, because people who have been terrible and lived terrible lives and done terrible things but believe that they deserve a good afterlife will get one. And people who have done good lives and believe that they're headed for their version of hell will get that too.
Oh, so, not necessarily. It's not a... Okay, like, it's context that you can bring in. Now, there, of course, down that path, a whole other set of discussions. I had I don't know if it's the Jewish perspective on the afterlife scene, where one of the perspectives is that there's no real concept of hell, right? Not as a place that people are sentenced to, as in the Christian and certainly some of the Reformed doctrines, but that you get one life, and the reward for living a good life is that you lived a good life. And the punishment for living a bad life is, hey, you had one and you wasted it. Yeah, being nasty, you could have done something in the world and you didn't. Yeah. But, anyway, yes, so much to explore here. But Picard is very much on your side. Like, he just rejects it out of hand, and it takes him a while. So, yes, he gets this experience of seeing his father and hearing these voices, which are pretty chilling, actually.
Oh, yes.
Hey, Captain, some other choice in firing on warning you. If you continue on this course...
Direct hit, sir. The ship is destroyed.
Lieutenant Picard to the bridge as well, yeah.
Right, yes. But, yeah, here we go. I mean, this is the comment.
I find it hard to believe that you are doing this for the benefit of my soul.
There you go. It's like, that's his core argument, basically. Like, okay, why would I? Like, no, sorry, this is not your spiel. This is not your thing.
And, okay, Now, eventually, this whole scene winds up with a reflection on a key event in Picard's past, because the reason that he died was because this energy weapon struck him in the chest, which would have been an inconvenience, a medical, trifle.
But his artificial heart couldn't take it.
Yes, he has an artificial heart, and that's because of a youthful interaction with some Nausicaans.
Which got penetrated from behind by a Nausicaan.
Yes. Come on, we've all been to the bars. Stuff happens. And in this white void, we see a young, hair-endowed, a full-headed ensign doing proper Star Trek fighting with the double fists.
I know, right?
And the breaking out of the arm lock and ducking out.
I also noticed that,
it's so cool.
Seeing the scene again, it's very well. The choreograph is very well copied between this scene and the scene at the end when it's actually Patrick Stewart fighting out the same scene with the Nausicaan.
As well.
Yes,
I'll favorite some more of these GIFs so we can see those moves. But yeah, it's the same choreography. And it ends with young Ensign Picard being penetrated from behind, like a sword sticking out through his chest, looking down at the blade and laughing. A story that he's told Wesley before, first in Samaritan Snare, and then we saw it again in The Final Mission when we discussed that a little while ago. And it was a key sort of moment in his history, and a very different kind of Picard.
Right. Oh, absolutely. But okay, rewind a little bit to the moment about the heart, because he goes I didn't cause you to die. This caused you to die. The heart.
He might have lived if you had a real one.
Yeah, there you go.
Unreliable piece of technology.
But
by the way, how did you lose yours anyway?
Yeah.
Mistake.
Ooh, and then and this is the final one.
Is that a regret?
And here we go. Now he's he's basically picking. He's goading him in towards a certain mindset here.
Yeah.
And Picard said, I regret many things, but that's, I think, Q is definitely setting him up here. I don't think Q is being, altruistic here. I think Q is setting him up here.
Okay, so here we have to get into it, because for loads of reasons, I think that Q deeply loves mortals in general, humans in specific, and Picard in particular.
Okay.
Right? He feels deep, deep love and cares a great deal about their flourishing, as parents love their children and care about them flourishing.
Right.
That means, when it comes to wanting someone to become who they can be,
right.
When you love a child, you know that that's a state that's going to end, and it has to.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? And you look forward to meeting who they're going to become. But it's very important that they go through that journey themselves.
Yes.
A terrible character on the Expanse talks at one point about a butterfly coming out of its chrysalis that he saw as a child, and because it was struggling.
And he helps it, and then it became a weak butterfly because it didn't do the fight itself.
A butterfly is supposed to struggle, and that pushes fluid from its body into its wings, and that's part of growing up.
Right.
And it's also very important that you feel that you did it yourself. Right, because then you learn to learn. So I've always believed, since I've reflected on Star Trek: The Next Generation, that Q really wants to teach humans things and really wants to teach Picard things. But it's really important that he constructs it in a way that they believe that they've learned it themselves.
Okay, yeah.
He cast himself as the villain. Also, he's a big old drama queen, and he likes to have fun.
Totally, yes.
Because it's dead boring in the Q continuum. It's so fucking boring out there. But that's how he shows his love. And so while I was watching this scene, I don't think he had any particular outcome in mind. Okay. I think he was offering Picard menu options of the kind of regrets that a human would have. His relationship with his father, right, might have been it. All the people who've died under his command, maybe he has a problem with his own command. The third one he offers is, hey, I was a very different person in my youth. And that's the one that Picard responds to most vividly. So, okay. Out of the options that we've, if you reflect back on your life as you do on your deathbed, that's apparently the thing that's the least resolved. So you talked about not believing that he could make it into command without having reflected on that. I mean...
Oh, no, that's definitely not what I said.
Okay, then I misunderstood.
Yes, no, I said that what I said is that the Picard he is now would not realize that he wouldn't be the same without how he'd been. I didn't say that that's not something that he would knew at the time before he got into command. That's something that,
right. Okay, fair enough.
The person that he is now, not that he you had to be forced to see this.
Yeah.
Unlike he did the first time, that would seeing it the way you did imply that he kind of bungled his way through the first time, and only because he now knows it, he's a better person for it.
No, See, if we were talking about, I mean, certainly if we were talking about Troy, or if we were talking about even Riker, I would be on board with you. But say Worf, Picard, they're very successful men. But is that because they have deep introspection and really process their lives, or because of also tons of other great qualities that they have?
Yeah, could be either.
Right. Mm. Also, terrible parental issues that a lot of these characters are dealing with and haven't really processed.
Proving father,
Yeah.
Embarrassment to your mother, embarrassment to your cow.
Hey, you saw his relationship with his brother when we went there at the beginning of season 5. Yeah. One that we haven't discussed here yet, but in family, it turned out that the Picards who lived in La Barre, I think it was the little village where they're from. They were quite embarrassed to have him gallivanting off instead of
Starfleet,
taking family responsibility. So that could have been it. But this is what's wonderful about these scenes, right? You're absolutely supported in your perspective that what we have here is an imp who has an agenda. He wants to have some fun, and he's tricking Picard into it.
Yeah.
Right? That he already has this virtual reality set up.
Yes, I mean I don't say I refuse to believe it. I think it's very unlikely that any of this is actually in the past.
Who knows?
No, we don't. Yeah,
right?
It's Q. You can't know.
Exactly.
We know he has the power to create this completely out of fantasy, of cloth.
But turns out it would be much easier to just fork off the universe from 43 years ago. It's just less effort.
It's like the whole moon landing hoax. It's like we're gonna have to fake building the rocket. We're gonna have to fake launching the rocket. Then we've got these people. Why don't we just shoot it on exactly. On site? Yeah,
it's easier to staff NASA than ILM at this point.
Yes.
Have you seen this economy? Oh man. And so, surprise.
Yes. He gets woken with a slap to the face. Standing there so girlfriend 1 has found out that he has a date with girlfriend 2. And, I slapped him off for it. And he's with his old friends from Starfleet Academy.
Yeah, it looks like he's in...
Gussie and whatever her name is.
Corey and Marta are his friends. And initially, I thought that this was quarters that they shared. As cadets often do.
Yeah.
We learn later that they're just temporarily billeted while awaiting their orders. Apparently they just have a few days.
Also, very weird layout on these quarters.
Yeah, right. Is this a single person place?
Also, there seem to be 2 exits.
Oh, yes,
she exits stage right, and they later exit stage left.
Yeah, and the camera doesn't turn.
No.
And which way does the window face? There is only one bed, but it has sort of a bunk kind of feel to it.
I know, right? It's really weird.
But yes, so this is Johnny Picard, as he was known.
Oh, yes.
With his Academy besties, Corey and Marta.
Who do have a little weird moment, okay, are you okay? She must have slapped you harder than it looked like, because you're acting kind of weird.
Well, he was doing the quantum leap thing where, what year is this? And
yes. Which he does again later. It's
Mr. Worf, what is my rank position?
And he looks down at his uniform. So he's wearing what are known as the Monster Maroons.
Right.
These uniforms from the original series movies.
Right, yes. That's what I figured. Yeah.
Wrath of Khan onward, which were still in storage and which were reused.
Mm-hmm.
Although in the original series movies, they had these turtlenecks, these cool sort of quilted turtlenecks.
Oh, right, yes.
Which unfortunately hadn't survived storage. They sort of decayed. And so... Instead, we just get them with, undershirts.
Right. So everybody wears red, and I guess the shoulder strap indicates...
The shoulder strap and the undershirt, which would be more prominent if you saw the turtleneck.
Right. Oh, yes, I see. And they
White
designate...
for command.
Right, there we go, yeah.
Yeah, gold, I think, engineering.
Right. Yeah, okay.
But as soon as Corey and Marta wander off in good humor, still poking fun at their buddy Johnny...
Yes.
Q shows up.
Such a lecherous guy. I'll bet you have another date ready. Well, yes, he does.
Yeah. And oh, my God.
Slowing down there, Johnny. You should have seen that one coming.
Because this whole interaction apparently took place in front of them, as is the norm, I guess.
So, I mean, we see that in lots of other Star Trek as well,
And Starship Troopers, which I know is playing in your brain because it is in mine.
Which scene are we talking about?
I think it's also because you call him Johnny.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah,
that immediately brought.
I mean, my favorite one is when they're getting it on in the tent, and the commander pokes his head in and goes "Yeah, we're shipping out. You've got 20 minutes," and then it was 10 minutes. make that 20. And then they look at each other and it's like, 20? Yeah.
We can do that. And Q shows up.
Attention on deck, Ensign Picard. Q. That's Captain Q to you, young man.
Yep.
Who says that you're 20 years younger. Picard looks in
21 years old again is what he says.
Oh, there we go. Yes. Yeah, apparently there's some inconsistency about the age, and you know how much I care about the exact minutiae of consistency between episodes. Yeah, it's a... Oh, what's he called? The hologram from Quantum Leap.
Oh, it's the Cylon.
It's Bottom Admiral...
it's the Cylon.
Yeah, I know. The Cavil.
Yes.
Chief, Ziggy, what's he called?
Nice one.
Thank you.
So that would be United States Rear Admiral Al Calavici, played by Dean Stockwell, who is the hologram of his best friend that appears only to Sam. Am I reading this just from the Wikipedia entry? Yes, I am. I've only seen clips of Quantum Leap. Don't at me.
And...
Are you mortals are so obtuse?
Yes. Oh, it's like, yeah, I can just turn it in and out and...
Why, I can take your life and give it back to you again. The snap of a finger.
Mostly, Picard is, he wants to preserve what we now know as the Temporal Prime Directive.
Right.
I refuse to change the past.
Please, spare me your egotistical musings on your pivotal role in history.
Yeah.
Because...
To be blunt, you're not that important.
Yeah, I'm favoriting that little chief. Yeah. You're not that important to anyone but me because I love you so passionately. And then he stands up while waving he's got a little pointy cane.
It's like a drill sergeant.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that he's wearing a captain Pips, captain's uniform. I mean, just very, very modest for him. He usually goes for a full-on Fort Burke Admiral.
Even when he's on Voyager and he notices Chakotay's face tattoo and goes, mine's bigger. And shows up with a full, Maori Tamoko. Here.
I will give you my personal guarantee that nothing you do here will end up hurting anyone or have an adverse effect on what you know of his history.
Yeah, I'll just fork off an entire universe and afterward I'll incinerate it.
Yes.
Easy.
Yeah.
Way easier than creating a little bounded.
Just like me, we could also just run this on the holodeck, It's just.
And then he also says something that Picard sort of fails to notice.
If you can avoid getting stabbed through the heart this time, which I doubt, I will take you back to what you think of as the present. And you will go on with your life with a real heart.
Yeah, because he imagines then just waking up on the bed.
Right.
Except without the sucking chest wound and without the fused
presumably,
aortas.
Yeah.
And not realizing that, everything you do has an impact on how you're seen, how you...
right. He basically promised him that he won't change the general outline and just basically minimal changes to change him, to change the captain.
Or you can die and...
Then you die on the table. And we spend eternity together.
Okay, so there he's clearly putting in, he's basically goading him. To tell him, well, no, it's not even goading him. He's straight up telling him, change your life or you die. He's not, that's not exactly giving him a learning opportunity. Well, I guess the learning opportunity comes later. But
so what if it's true?
Mm-hmm.
And what if, if Q isn't God, then he doesn't make all the rules.
No.
So why is Q even here?
Well, it's very boring in the Q continuum. He saw a nice opportunity to with Picard.
And what if he hadn't?
Then Beverly might have pulled him out of it, It's like put him on a triple bypass, replicate a new heart, put it in place, get everything fused back together again.
Do we think that's where the scene was going? Because
of course not, because that's not how it was filmed.
And also, the last time that his heart came up, he had to go to his special space station to get his heart tuned. That couldn't be done aboard Enterprise.
Yes.
He had to take
a really complex piece of equipment. That,
apparently.
Right. It's not like artificial hearts don't already exist and everything.
Yeah, or maybe it's the specific type of surgery, the recuperation or whatever. But there is
they also had a stasis field already ready, which they could have just shoved
they had stasis units, which they never used to just store people until you
put them in the transport buffer, any of these.
Yeah, well, it's Star Trek, baby. That's how we do. That's how we roll. But I think that Yeah, Picard was straight up on the verge of death, and Q stepped in.
Yeah, true.
To make something else possible, and maybe there was a price. Maybe that required something that someone would be willing to change their life. Like, who knows how the metaphysical fabric of the universe is held together?
Yes. Okay. Rampant speculation, but yes, of course.
But in all directions, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's equally speculative to consider his motives, Q's motives, to be so, petty and mean and
I mean, he certainly plays the part very well.
Yeah, exactly. He certainly does.
Certainly makes it easy to believe that.
And we see a few smirks on Picard as he's mentioning that why this slap came about. Well,
her name was Corlina, and I'd arranged to take her out today, and then she discovered that I had already made a second date with another woman called Penny.
The little grin.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Penny.
Penny.
In fact, Penny is waiting for me right now.
So, yes.
Yeah, and he's so excited now, actually.
I mean, you always think back about past friendships, past lovers, and often I can imagine like the prospect of going through one of those cherished moments again.
Yes, it's those moments, right?
That would bring a smile to you. But then again, it's probably like one of the things he learns. It's like, it's probably your memory of it. It's probably better than it was actually at the time.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, because when he's seeing this Penny in the bar,
Penny, do you think we could just talk for a while?
Yeah, because that's his move now.
Yeah,
and she's this cougar woman with huge... I mean, I wish she was actually a cougar woman. Apparently, she was born on Rigels. She has huge hair. I like to imagine that there's a gigantic skull underneath with crystalline lattices.
I come from Rigel. My last name is Murok, and I like men in uniform. That's enough talking.
I think that's enough talking.
Yeah. Because I also like men out of uniform. And let's get on with that. Do you notice how sort of grungy this bar is that they're in, by the way? There's haze everywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
Production designers talked about that, how normally, like, everything's clean in Starfleet, but, like, this is a squatty bar, right? This is off base.
Well, yes, they are on the space station, and they've already been moved somewhere. This is not around Earth, as I gathered from what was said.
Handsome. That's something you say to old ladies.
Well, you realize now that he kind of is, like,
And your flirting game is not exactly on point there, Johnny, because she splashes him in the face.
Yep.
Now, oh yeah, the sound effect does make it through. It sounds a little bit squirty, because she says,
I didn't want your pity.
No pity for me. And then in which case, the old Johnny was probably better at hiding it and more than happy to share a bed with an experienced woman and learn what he can from her.
As is the new, the current Jean-Luc, except like he expresses himself rather poorly.
Right,
like she's looking for someone who's young, dumb and full of... Do we have a way to express that?
Well, we could just say it and let the chief bleep it out.
Young, dumb and very hung is what she... is what she likes. But yeah, so that's 2 for 2, Johnny boy.
Yes.
And the bartender turns around.
Turns out to be Q, of course.
Yes,
it's like, I didn't remember this, but I knew it when that shot was coming. I'm like, okay, bartender's going to be Q.
Breathing into a glass. Yeah, my ass is everywhere, says Q. And asks Jean-Luc to reflect on this because he keeps coming back, asking this. Now, how do you think that went? And this is where I feel really reaffirmed.
Well, I think he actually says,
Penny for your thoughts.
Which is beautiful because her name is Penny. And he's kind of enthusiastic about this side of Picard.
Yeah.
You never told me you were such a ladies' man.
I was a puerile adolescent who allowed himself to be led by his hormones instead of his head.
Those two are not mutually exclusive.
Wait, which two?
Being a ladies' man and being a puerile adolescent who allows himself to be led by his hormones instead of his head. Wrong head guy.
Yeah.
But yes, like, why don't you just look at your friends? They're having fun because yes, Kludge is playing Domjot.
Kludge?
I don't know. I keep forgetting his name. Carl.
No, it's Corey, but I kind of like Kludge. Who? He has lovely hair. He has beautiful ginger hair. Gorgeously styled. He's got the Star Trek sideburns, I think. It's a very full bar, which in the script, there was a big, big bold note that said, no Ferengi.
Oh, okay.
Because Well, in Star Trek, they're used to putting Ferengi in bars, right? They wound up doing it with...
because this was before...
But this was before the Ferengi were even discovered.
Yes.
Yeah. Although we do see an Antican and... what's the other species called, Chief?
Okay, so there's quite a few species that are being seen here. So we have the tailhead alien patron, which that's just what they're called. They're just tailheads, and we all see them in lower decks. We'll always have Tom Paris. We do have an unnamed Soleil, which is the Cobra type species that we saw in season 1 of TNG. We have a Rotsiv, which are just they have like I would say like a nose bridge thing that goes all the way to the cranium, but that doesn't help because Michael Westmore was well known for his nose bridge pieces. We do also have something that's just called a buck-toothed alien patron, and that's really just, it looks kind of like a rat. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just a very rat-looking person.
In the background, who at the start of The Next Generation, in the episode Lonely Among Us, Soleil, that was it, are mortal enemies. But yes, they're just thrown there in the background.
It is more lit, like it does see its share of Klingon, and probably also...
It's just an atmospheric haze, right?
Yeah, but it's also got the reddish lighting that you see in that our headcanon is like, that's because more attuned to the Klingon spectrum of seeing things.
Yeah.
And humans are fine with it too, because it's a nice cozy bar. It's like, a little romantically lit. Well, not romantically, but you know.
But you got like opium and sulfur fumes in the air while they're playing Domjot.
Yes.
Which is this adorable game that's a combination of like
pool
billiards.
And pinball.
Yes. There's all these lights. They got these tiny little sticks. They got tiny little
cubes. They're kind of like pool cues, kind of like, which is also a bit like a...
Oh my God, they're on springs.
Yes. So you point it and you pull out the back and you let go.
And
then
it springs back.
Yes.
Oh, that's adorable.
And then it works as a pinball thing, whatever.
I want to play Domjot. It looks like so much fun.
What's that part of a pinball machine called? Like the thing you pull to shoot the ball.
I want to say plunger.
This could be.
Chief, does it have a better term?
Yeah.
Okay, so while a pinball machine does have a plunger, the one that you're looking for is really just the ball launcher is what it's called, which is a very boring name, unfortunately. But a plunger is another part of the pinball machine. I can't exactly see what it does. Pinball machines are a lot more complicated. Like, I knew they were complicated, but looking into this and all different parts, because I went to pinballlife.com, which is just like where you find pieces to replace parts in your pinball machine. And looking by category, there's so many more pieces than I knew about, which makes sense. They're complicated machines, but it's just like, oh, right, these are really complex pieces of machinery, and I don't think people appreciate how much work goes into them and how much engineering goes into them. It's actually just really cool. I like that I now know parts of the pinball machine based on this stupid question. Thank you, Cocky. Thank you for letting me learn more.
We're really making the Chief work for his
yes.
this episode. Right? Hi, Chief. It's always nice to hear from you.
I work exactly as hard as I want to on this. Sometimes I will be more like Scotty or Jordy and just like go all out, and sometimes just like, I'll just be Jet Reno and just like make it work and not really care. Just like, whatever, it's all good. So I work as hard as I want to on this because I'm the chief engineer. I get to make that decision for myself.
In barge the Nausicaans, who go like...
Play, Domjot, human.
I mean, it's a little question mark in the subtitles, but it doesn't really sound like a question.
Hey, at least they're speaking English.
No, true.
Which, it definitely sounds like what they're doing, that they're not relying on automatic translation.
Oh, yes, good points. They're not using the universal translator.
Or I should say Federation Standard.
No.
That's how the language that we see as English in Star Trek is referred to in modern, who knows what it's like. Maybe it's like Galach. Maybe it's like, the combination of Gaelic and Russian, like in Dune.
Oh, yes. So, he goes off playing the Nausicaans.
Kludged. Christ. But Picard warns him against him. Hey, you got to be careful, because...
It'll cause trouble.
Yeah. But he disregards it and
what's gotten into you?
Yeah, he's like, well, you're acting so weird. I'm just going to have some fun. Picard wanders off, and but of course, Q is sitting there.
Oh, he's got his leg up. He's lounging back. Q always just has so much fun with space. Oh, what am I today? Oh, I'm a biped. Oh, I'm going to do biped stuff.
Very much bisexual sitting in.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you know what he's like. We've seen some images of like other forms that he has. Like, I think his native form is a floating sphere with like disco lights and 3 cobra heads coming out.
Oh.
So,
is that the thing that we saw in the menagerium?
Yes, you're right.
That's not his natural form.
No, he does claim it, but of course he's full of shit.
Yes.
So yes, he does bipedal bisexual sitting. When Picard says that in his memory, oh yeah, Kludge is going to lose because the game is rigged because the Nausicaans are cheating. Oh no!
Really? I'm beginning to like these Nausicaans.
But again, like he's feigning that he doesn't already know this. It's like,
if you can know anything, does that mean that you know everything?
Of course not. But
right?
Considering Q's tendency to mess with things and get under people's skin, of course he would like figure out what's going on here, like look at the ins and outs of everything that transpired here, especially if he's trying to goad or even teach Picard a lesson, actually teach him a lesson.
Okay, so I'm going to come at this from the other angle. Not that there's any evidence, right? This isn't an argument or anything, but like, what if Q specifically can't see into your mind? He can see all of reality,
right,
or anything in reality, right? Not necessarily everything, but he still just has to take best guesses based on what he knows about people.
But in something like the Nausicaans are cheating, he would be able to tell, because if he knows how this encounter played out, which is like which what Picard just tells him to.
I rigged the table so that he would win in a rematch.
Right, but Q should already know that because it's already happened.
Yeah, but again, like he doesn't necessarily look at everything. He's really focused on Picard.
But he's trying to manipulate him. So I mean, if I were in his place, I would
that's not my perspective.
Play through the whole see what originally happened, try to figure out how Picard thought and feels about it, because that's what he's trying to figure out.
Yes,
and he can do that by
fully agreed
watching it in advance and then trying to manipulate Picard into getting to do something else, or maybe doing what he wants, or maybe just like coming to a different conclusion on his own.
See,
we don't know about that.
I think that we had very different relationships to like homework and preparation for exams, you and I. I think possibly that this is also like visible in the various successes that you've had in your life, that you prepare really well and that you look at the possible like the possible contingencies and you prepare for those. Whereas I'm more of the style of sort of the big picture and like, what's the end goal? Well, the end goal is that after 45 minutes, I hand in my paper. So what? Like, so what if like, what are you doing the 2 weeks before that 45-minute period? Like that's anyone's guess. And I could also do other stuff maybe sometimes, and then maybe wing it at the end, and it's 55% of the time it turns out fine. Just put a lot of effort into those last 45 minutes, and. You know, if I describe myself like this and like you reflect on yourself, which one of us do you think Q is like more?
Oh, well, okay. I mean, obviously you're going to you rather than me.
That doesn't have to be obvious, but like this is a hypothesis I'm presenting.
If you put it like that, then yes.
So that is my argument. He probably hasn't done as much homework as you're crediting him with, just because he could have, just because he had like the whole breadth of human continuity to explore. Would he though? Or would he sort of wing it at the end?
Maybe, but he must have made a plan. Why would he otherwise go like, oh, I'm just going to... Well, we don't know how he experiences time, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But even so, I think I can. One of my life rules that I live by is that deep planning and sombreros are mutually exclusive.
Deep planning. Sorry, I thought you said deep planning. Like
it's very different. And we've seen him in a sombrero.
True.
Oh shit! I mean, that is really culturally insensitive to sombreros.
It takes some organizing to get a mariachi band together.
Yes, that's absolutely true. No, I retract that. I was trying to make a silly little joke, but
anyway. So the Nausicaan wins at Domjot, much to Chad's chagrin.
Oh, he's Chad now. He's not even Kludge anymore. You named him Kludge. I was going with you, and now he's Chad. Fine. Wow.
I'm going to see how long it takes me to run out of names that start with a C.
Why are you doing this on purpose?
Because it saves me from having to remember which one it was.
But like Nausicaans are apparently they're sore losers, but they're also sore winners.
Oh yes.
Damjat. Human play, Damjat.
Yes, chucks the cue at him, or the bat, or whatever you want to call it. And there's a little get-together. Yes. Almost immediately, they realize that the table was rigged, or at least that he was probably using a device in his belt, which is pure conjecture.
Yeah, but Corey's played a lot of Dom Jot, and nobody gets that lucky.
Yep.
So
what are we going to do? Well, we can counter-cheat him.
Yeah, because we've got to get even and teach him a lesson, which is very young person thinking. Right? The idea that if I take this punitive action, that is what my ego needs, then they'll learn something.
Sure. On the other hand, rigging the table so that the Nausicaan's cheating device doesn't work isn't exactly cheating.
No, certainly not. No, that's leveling the playing field.
Right, exactly. So, I don't get the impression that he's actually trying to cheat.
Oh, wait, hang on.
Only this time we rigged the table, so his device will backfire.
Oh, backfire.
Right,
give him a disadvantage.
That's hoist by your own petard at that point. It's
not exactly gentlemanly, but also not unsporting either.
Right. So, if you hadn't cheated, then you wouldn't have been. Yeah.
But this Johnny Picard, he's a real buzzkill because he says...
Oh, totally, yes. He's a wet towel.
We're officers. We should start to set a higher standard for ourselves.
And what's his name now?
Oh,
Corey. Let's go with Corey K.
Okay.
You are right that there's a terrible sort of propensity for K names in the podcast that we do.
True.
Oh. And he trundles off.
Yep. So he goes off, and then there's a moment between Marta
Batanides.
Marta's vineyard. Yes. And
he seems very interested in her vineyard, yeah.
Yeah, well, she seems to be much more into him as well.
Yeah.
At least for the time being.
Because...
But I always suspected you had a hidden streak of responsibility somewhere.
Yeah. Well, then they're
Three of us, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
let's get together.
Let's have a little...
all of us.
Let's have a little threesome.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you're going to sort of explore the various, sexual interests that you might have, having Corey and Marta as your co-adventurers, that seems like a good time.
Of course, this building moment is interrupted.
Is there a John Luck Picard here?
And he's carrying flowers, which Marta suspects, that's from one of your conquests.
Yet another one. See, and this is one of the moments which I think is Q looking into how things are and how people react, because he knows this will chase her off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, why do we think that he's doing this?
Because he wants to keep Picard focused on what he wants Picard for. He doesn't want Picard to start developing other interests. He doesn't want him to develop good habits or take his life in a direction that would make it more interesting, perhaps in a different way. He wants it to be able to keep him focused on the thing that he wants to have changed, so he can bully him with the results of that.
I fully agree. And yet, nevertheless, here's hypothesis B, that he promised to Picard that any change you made won't affect the rest of the universe and won't be harmful. And that he suspected, he extrapolated from this scene, okay, if we let this go on, that's actually going to cause harm to somebody else, and that would be breaking my promise. So you don't get this one. Yeah. You get it later on when you do a bit of changing, for whatever reason. He's just adorable, is Q. Do you know what their relationship is like? Odo and Quark.
Oh. Right. Suppose, yeah. I mean, the interactions, yes, very much so. The power dynamic, entirely different.
Oh, yeah, completely.
But, yeah.
And also, they go way farther than Odo and Quark. They start as Odo and Quark, and then Picard does wind up opening up to Q.
Right. I should rewatch some of the Q episodes to see what actually comes up. Because I know that at some point he basically comes to them because he's been kicked out of the Continuum or something. And apparently he needs to make amends with the humans or something. It's does it become clear what he needs to do to be allowed back in or not get kicked out?
Put on a sombrero and join a mariachi band. I recall the end of that.
That was Encounter at Farpoint.
That especially episode. Oh, was it? I don't know. Was it Chief? Chief, was it that episode?
I don't remember.
It doesn't matter. We were doing so well. We were actually blazing through this at a fair clip. Not anymore, no. And I'm sorry for my part in that. I'm actually not that sorry for my part in that.
No, you're not. So, Picard goes to stop Chad from going to tinkering with the Domjot table.
Yes, because that's what he came here to tell Picard.
Yes.
And Corey's under the table. It's a cool sort of under the table shot, and he's, playing with various tools, and he bumps his head when he notices Picard sneaking up on him.
Johnny, don't sneak up on me like that. I thought you were the gambling foreman.
I'm sorry.
I'm glad you're here. Hand me that Magnus spanner, huh?
Corey, I'm not here to help you. I'm here to stop you from making a serious mistake.
Picard got like, well, don't be so childish, essentially.
Yeah.
And he got like, well, are you going to stop me?
You sound like my mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to hit me, Johnny?
No, but if you go ahead with this, I'm going to tell the gambling foreman that the table has been de-jotted. And
yes, I just had the table re-jotted. Whatever that means. And yeah, Corey surrenders, and like his last day as a free cadet is marked by pretty significant disappointment in someone.
What he thought was his friend.
Well, yeah.
What a fun guy, and now he is a stick in the mud.
Yeah, that they had this kind of adventurous streak in common, that they appreciated that about each other.
And now you're talking like an officer, like which
like
a senior officer. Yeah. Well, yes, I mean, that's the point Picard makes.
Look, Corey, we're not cadets anymore. We're officers. We should start to set a higher standard for ourselves.
That's why it's like, I think my whole Lower Decks reference is not very far off the mark.
I think you're completely right, because as much as like the episode Lower Decks from The Next Generation, which one of my favorites of all time, sort of inspired that, like there's a lot in here as well of the kind of people that significant Starfleet officers are. Now, of course, that is a particular sort of worldview, like the idea that great commanders come from these rambunctious youths.
Right, yeah.
Which,
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's the reputation Kirk had, but Picard is clearly far more the. Kirk broke into the library and stole books.
Yeah, he's a chess nerd.
Yes,
he's a fucking chess club the whole time. And then he banged like 3 chicks, and he's considered this womanizer. But like Picard, he was hustling pool with his buddies and
yes,
multi-dating like when he was 21.
The terror of French cafes.
Yeah.
But yes, he gets together with Martha.
Johnny, haven't you ever thought about us getting together?
Yes, I have, actually. I've thought about it for a long time.
Yeah.
But that's only a fling, because she likes it for the night.
Well, she seems to really like it for the night, because they do the smooching.
Yes, and then fade to black and fades to clothes on the floor. Picard's
lying on his side, bare-chested under the covers, and Marta reaches over to fondle his ear, and he rolls over, and it's not Marta, it's Q who's in bed with him.
Morning, darling.
Yes.
And he immediately pulls the covers up to cover his tits.
I know, right? Why?
Oh, my tits. Oh, no. My officer's pips.
I noticed that as well. Like, why does he do that? Like...
Yeah, because, well, you know Picard, he's comfortable with his body and his sexuality and like in touch with his emotions, just like you said, right?
Yeah. So what has like things will be different? It is true.
We're just friends, Q. Nothing more.
Great impersonation,
right?
By John Delancey.
When he does show up later with the bar, it's like
we've been friends for a long time, and
now
I'm afraid we've ruined that friendship.
Yeah. And it might be possible.
True.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I mean, we're sluts, and sex has a different meaning for us than it does have for a lot of other people, and that's all fine. Everybody has their own relationship with sex and what that means, and romance and all that. But for them, like, yeah, it can mean that they've crossed a line, that there's no uncrossing. And of course, it's just this one day because they're going to ship off later today. This is the last drink
why don't we just kind of like forget about this ever happened, and then...
Yeah,
and she's
cool.
like, I wish I could, but that would make it easier to leave tomorrow. But yeah.
Let's conclude our youth with denial. That's great.
Fantastic.
That's great.
Yes, because...
We're all supposed to get together later for our last big night out on the town before we all ship out.
Yeah. And, well, we'll see about that.
He is being a good friend and partner because he says...
I don't want you to do anything that would make you uncomfortable.
But as a young person, she decides, no, it's all been planned. And
let's go ahead with it, yeah.
Even though she's sad. You see her wiping a tear away. Like, this is pretty emotional. Especially, like, she was probably maybe. She was way more into him than he into her.
Right.
And that's something that she could have accepted. Except now they've got this one night together, and it's only going to be the one night, and now it's really sad that...
Right. It's interesting, because like she's kind of like, maybe we do, maybe we don't, and he goes ahead with it way too easily, I think.
Yeah.
With the experience of, an older man who has been through a lot more, and God's like, well, yes, okay, well, we do have...
Yeah. Ooh. Don't hugely love those... Oh, no.
Well,
age isn't...
No. I mean, like, with older man's maybe not, but with someone with more life experience.
Yeah,
it's more easier for him to
contextualize.
Exactly. And she being a younger person who hasn't probably not been through that many relationships, has much...
At this point, Marta kicks the door and goes, that's where you're wrong. Let me show you my little black book, volume 26. But yeah, I think it's called campsite rules, right? When it comes to relationships or sexual encounters between people with a significant age difference, campsite rules is that the older person has a responsibility to leave them in as good a condition or better.
That kind of... I was wondering what kind of campsites you've been going to, but no, I get it.
Anyway. Leave only hickeys, take only or whatever you want to express that. That should probably be bleeped out, shouldn't it? Well,
the get-together it's a blast. It's a royal party. Everybody's sitting around the table staring into their drinks.
It's the same fucking bar, by the way.
I know, right? Yeah.
Is there anything else to do on this?
I have no idea. It's like...
Oh, maybe this is Cudden Gala's bar.
Who?
Cork Seniors.
Oh, right. Yes. No, it is like it is mentioned earlier.
Oh, is it?
It's...
Is in the Bonistel facility right now.
Oh, that's
rigging
right.
The table to be
so whatever the Bonistel facility is like it's not attached to the starbase that they're at, but it's...
It's named after a member of production staff. Chief, who was it named after?
So it was actually not named after a member of production. However, it was named after the 20th century astronomical artist Chelsea Bonestell.
Thank you. Yeah, they're just sitting around this three-sided table, friends whose relationship has changed very dramatically in the last 16 hours.
Yes. Picard proposes a toast to the class of 27.
Yeah.
And in come the Nausicaans again.
It's so cool. They get lit from behind. It's like they're about to start a hair metal set. What song would they be playing?
I don't know. Cool the Engines by Boston?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, nice one. Nice one. Help, I'm stepping into the twilight zone.
That'll work,
Yeah.
So, basically...
Play, Damjat.
We get a repeat of moves.
Yeah, with a bit more, because...
They're kind of goading him.
Picard tries to speak for Corey.
Yeah.
That we're not interested. And then the Nausicaans...
They are Andari. Cowards. Like all Starfleet, you talk and you talk. But you have no gramba.
Yes, Corey...
Find out.
Corey steps up to look, and Picard goes like, well, let's just go about our business,
And when the Nausicaan pushes it even further... Corey is about to take a swing.
Yeah.
And instead gets tackled by his buddy and thrown over a table.
Yep. The Nausicaans walk away laughing, leaving Corey embarrassed and angry at Picard.
Who says...
I'm sorry, Corey. He was reaching for a weapon.
But Corey is hugely disappointed and walks out. And this is the end of their friendship.
And even Martha is just looks at him and says goodbye, Johnny, and wanders off as well. Q flash.
Congratulations, Mon Capitaine.
Yeah.
You did it.
And now, boom.
Picard,
He's on, I think, the bridge. It's one of the science stations.
Yes, it looks like it's the bridge. You don't really get to see it from Worf's viewpoint, but the way Data's sitting there in the background, Worf is standing behind the console and has turned around. And what are you doing here? It's like, oh, I have this. That's not for me. That needs to go to engineering.
It's very Quantum Leapy, this.
Yes.
Right? Because he always has that moment of confusion of where am I and what am I supposed to do? Is this for you? Am I handing it to you? I don't know.
Data almost seems to catch on for a moment. You can see him looking and go like...
Are you feeling all right?
Yeah. Especially when Picard asks...
Who's the captain of this ship?
And it's Thomas Holloway. Oh, in one of the earlier drafts, it was going to be Jellicoe.
Okay.
He's a command officer.
Is he the Admiral later? Admiral Jellicoe?
Yes, he does become Admiral later. He takes over the Enterprise while Picard is being Borgified.
Right, him.
Very different management style.
Yes.
Does not work very well with the Enterprise.
4 shifts.
Yes, exactly. Oh, very good. We should do that one sometime. We haven't done a 2-parter yet. Because, shouldn't they have a protocol where when somebody goes, what year is it? That immediately, red alert goes off on the entire ship, scanning for chronotons.
There's something going on.
Beam them directly to sickbay. We have a temporal event. Everybody lock it down.
Well, maybe that's why everybody always, when somebody's been knocked out, everybody always asks, do you know what year it is? How many fingers am I holding up? It's and we've just not been told about that. It's actually done for chronological protocols.
I'll find a way to sickbay myself. And he wants to talk to Beverly, but instead...
What seems to be the trouble, Lieutenant Picard?
Yes, of course, it's cute. I kind of almost expected when he walks in there going...
Beverly, something has happened to me. I'm not sure
that there would be Beverly turning around, excuse me, you will address me as doctor,
Oh, yeah.
Rather than... But no, we didn't get that.
God, he's wearing a lab coat and a vest and a hat.
And one of those old-fashioned mirrors on his forehead.
A head mirror, as they're called. I once looked up whether there was a better name for them, but they are just straight up called head mirrors.
Yeah. I guess I believe it's only to get more light reflected onto the area that they're looking at.
Yes, they're parabolic then.
Right, yes. So, yes, discussion, what have you done? And, you changed, what the hell did you do to me? It's now you have changed into the person that you were going to be if, you were not you've been changed into the person who you were going to be had you become the old you again after the new you changed a few things in the old you's life.
Okay, before you started talking, I understood it.
Right.
And now I'm lost. Walk me through that again. Because I've seen this episode. I understand what happens in this episode. Right. But your explanation has seemed to erase the sort of logic of it. Do it again, please.
Okay, so basically what Q has done is taken old Picard... Sorry, young Picard. Let me say young Picard. Yeah, young Picard. And put old Picard in young Picard's body.
Yeah, I've seen videos like that.
Have old Picard change a few things.
Tumblr,
and then have young Picard finish everything up without... Basically, someone with the benefit of hindsight and experience gets to do an event in your life different than leaving the old the young.
No,
one.
Wait, okay.
Yeah,
so
leaving
this
the
is where it's happening.
I know.
It's actually even worse than the first time you explained it, Kay. Oh my God.
Leaving young Picard to deal with the consequences caused by the old Picard without the experience that the old Picard had when he made those decisions.
Yes.
And that's why I could think it's massively unfair. But of course, everything Q does is massively unfair.
Is it?
But yes, usually.
Okay, so one more time.
Yeah.
Q put old Picard in young Picard.
Yes.
Which turned young Picard into...
Oh, no, okay.
Then old Picard went into old Picard.
Yeah.
But old Picard was different, which old Picard didn't like.
Because
young Picard changed young Picard.
Right, yes, because young Picard was forced to deal with the changes that old Picard made without having the benefit of old Picard's experience and knowledge.
Right. And then that led to... New old Picard.
New old Picard, yes.
So you had old Picard, young Picard, and new Picard. And now old Picard is a new Picard.
Yes.
This is the man you are today. And you should be happy. You have a real heart beating in your chest.
Yeah.
And you get to live out the rest of your life in safety. Running tests, making analyses, and carrying reports to your superiors.
So you're not telling me that this wasn't a setup
from the start?
Well,
I'm not telling you anything.
Right.
I'm just saying what I believe. I don't think that Q knew that this was the do-over that Picard was going to choose.
Yeah, okay, so that all hinges on at which point Picard took the bait.
Right.
Okay,
he got different offers. Right. There might have been 20 more.
Right, yeah, okay, we don't know.
So do you regret the relationship with your father? No. Do you regret the people who've died under your command? No. He's got that resolved, right? Do you regret being a different person or having been a different person in your youth? Okay, yeah, okay. So
he's basically playing on I don't think there's a single person who doesn't have any things that they think about in the past and go, I really wish I'd done that differently, with the benefit of hindsight, because I really was an asshole, or
absolutely.
that really turned out through. So, yeah, it's.
But it's like,
but he wasn't. Yeah, okay. Well, we can't contribute motive to Q because we don't know, other than.
Well, we can choose, right? I've chosen my view, but because he's a fictional character, so like whatever like you infer from the evidence that's available, like, inspires a whole different reading of this character. Which
yes, and as I learned from Battlestar Galactica, writers often don't know what they're doing. Like,
certainly not in this case. Oh my God, these episodes were written so far apart. This was Ronald D. Moore's first time writing a Q episode.
Oh, okay.
It was originally called a Q Carol.
Right. Well, it's a very good point. Yeah, I like that because it has very strong Christmas Carol.
Yep. In the
tones,
original script, it was a bunch of scenes that he was being walked through, right? He died on the table, and then Q took him through his childhood in the bar and this fight and like 2 other scenes. And it was soundly rejected for being like too expensive for one thing.
Right.
And also, what's the point? It's a bunch of scenes. What actually happens?
No, very good point.
So it was, and also at this point, Patrick Stewart had just done a very successful and award-winning, I think, run as Ebenezer Scrooge on stage.
Right, yes.
Performances of A Christmas Carol.
Yes. So back after the commercial break, we have him walking into 10 forward, asks if he may join Riker and Troy.
Yeah, who were just sitting there drinking drinks in silence. He asked if he was interrupting, and they're saying no. We were just sitting here in complete silence, just getting sloshed together. What do you want?
I mean, she was probably just mind-reading Riker or something, and like, oh yes, that's a good idea. Can you do that thing again that I like? And
cool.
like,
yeah, they were brain fingering each other.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
Cool.
Yes.
That's a cool thing to do in public. Splooshy sploosh. And he asks for basically a performance review on the spot.
Essentially, yes, which is not exactly glowing, but perfunctory.
Yeah. Except he's asking for, like, opportunities to transition to maybe a path toward command.
And then they go like...
Frankly, Lieutenant, I don't think that's realistic. What would you say if I told you that I believe that I was capable of being very much more?
Right, which Troy shoots down.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's not being your problem. You believe it, but you don't show it.
Yeah.
And then Riker actually says something which I think is rather dubious.
If you want to get ahead, you have to take chances. Stand out in the crowd. Get noticed.
That doesn't really sound like Starfleet doctrine.
No, it's a sort of Kirk.
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean,
approach.
It's true, but only if you succeed. Like, take chances, but they better pay out, because otherwise you're f***ed.
Right, exactly.
So
and then when they work out, then you claim that,
brilliance.
Exactly.
Yes.
As we see many people unfortunately do when they fail upward, make it through a completely random filter, survivorship bias. We all struggle with it.
We talked to 100 people who played Russian roulette, and all of them survived the game.
Hey.
Yeah.
So it turns out you can be really
safe,
good at it. That's a really, really good one, Kay. Oh my God, wow. And I think also, like, there's this whole thing about him now being stuck in this sort of mouse of a man, like as he complains when he wanders off into the turbo lift.
That's enough.
Yep.
You've made your point.
And
does it amuse you to think of me living out the rest of my life as a dreary man in a tedious job?
Hey, fuck off. This is somebody else's career. This is somebody else's whole life, and they're digging it.
Sure, but that's because it fits their personality then.
Yeah, but this is also hugely judgmental for, is this what you think of the people under your command? Do you think that the people who are carrying these reports around to you?
Yeah.
What a beta. Right? Is that how you look at people? What an awful way to...
Oh, good point, yes. That's...
Everybody's got their own life path. Everybody's got their own, like, work-life balance that they want. And, like, for a lot of people, God, can you imagine how cool it would be to just, like, take whichever one of your interests it is, do that for 8 hours plus extras, and you just get to do the fun stuff. Hey, I get to contribute this way.
We do the fun stuff.
Yeah. That's always bothered me about this episode.
No, I will wholeheartedly agree with that one.
So, disappointed in you, Picard, and zap, we're back in the white space.
Yes. Well,
you notice, by the way, how reserved Q is in these scenes in the white space.
Yes, to a certain degree.
Right? He's just standing there. He's holding very still.
Well, he's trying to project his god image.
So that's one reason. Another reason is that it was 2 a.m. and they were real tired. And the third reason is, Well, at this point, they were still filming on film, so they didn't actually really know what it would look like.
Oh.
Him wearing white in a white background.
Right.
And they were kind of worried, what if you're just a floating head? Then you better not be bouncing around all over the place.
Did they do any dailies?
Yeah, but you still have to develop the film. So this was absolutely right. And they were being shipped off to, then you get them back within an hour.
Right.
But still, it's 1 a.m.
Sure, yeah.
Are we going to wait for that? Because you've also got, you've got the video monitors, but they're not seeing exactly what's on the film.
Not. No.
Well, back in those days.
I guess you're leaning heavily on the experience of your camera operators.
Yeah, and your director of photography as well.
Yes.
It's a great outfit that he's wearing, by the way. I thought at first it was a white version of his judge's robes from Encounter at Farpoint, or Escape from Farpoint, as you point out, which, that would be a cool episode. Alas, no.
That Picard never had a brush with death, never came face to face with his own mortality, never realized how fragile life is or how important each moment must be.
And?
He drifted through much of his career with no plan or agenda, going from one assignment to the next, never seizing the opportunities that presented themselves. He learned to play it safe.
Okay.
Yes.
This technology is really working for us.
Once
We're starting to get good at it.
Yes.
Chief, are you proud of us?
I actually am very proud of you. It's doing way better on the whole. Every once in a while I have to do a little bit of futzing around to make sure that it works smoothly for everyone else, but I'm very proud of you, and I love how excited you guys are getting when you can do this. I really do love this. I know I made jokes about oh, you're taking away my job or whatever, but it's getting me good energy, and I can still chime in when I need to and make you guys sound as good as you can. Love you guys.
Hopefully you...
And Picard says, okay, I agree. I made a mistake. Didn't want this. Yes.
That's what he wanted.
But I admit now, it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Right. It was a mistake to allow you to goad me into following this path. Yes.
So what's the lesson or what does Picard come out of this with?
Don't listen to Q.
I don't think that's the case.
No, I know. I'm being...
He comes out of here with much more respect for the life that he has had, the totality of the life that he's had, including, bits that he previously thought were, that he wasn't so enthusiastic about.
But yes, I mean, to come back to your earlier point,
I'd rather die as the man I was than live the life I just saw.
Rude towards people who...
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah.
There's 90% of the staff on your ship is like this, and you're just going...
well, no. I mean, they're all still tryhards. I mean, otherwise you don't get to the Enterprise. That's always that's always whenever somebody moves to the Enterprise, it's like, oh, you got the Enterprise. Oh, you must be such a tryhard.
Yeah, that's the only ship where all the toilets work all the time. It's amazing.
But yes, back to the bar fight. We get to the cool fight scene. This time we get to see it actually done in the bar, not just in the empty white space.
Yeah, and this time it's Patrick Stewart doing the cool hip toss and the double fist
slam
and breaking from the arm lock.
That must have just been
classic.
Starfleet training at that point. That's how Starfleet combat training worked back in those days.
Yeah, they're probably still watching the same tapes that the Enterprise is from Prodigy.
Yes. Oh gosh, yes.
Watch as well. But it's actually a cool fight.
He gets stabbed back through the chest from behind, and
he loves it. He loves being penetrated from behind.
Well, you can see him laughing at it, and then fortunately, the Picard on the table wakes up and
also laughing.
Yes, his vital signs are stable. Everything will be all right.
And then while the patient suddenly starts laughing, everyone goes,
smile, he'll be fine. You're injured. But I think you're going to be all right. Never mind your liver, your spleen, and whatever.
No, we just talked about that.
Exactly.
All the other things you're going to be... It's not like that fantastic scene in Star Trek Beyond where Spock has been injured and Bones is trying to, they're trying to escape from a terrible situation where they're in, and they sort of open up to each other, right?
Yeah.
In a really touching moment. And Bones cracks a stupid joke that Spock giggles at, and Bones for just a second thinks, "Oh, this is great that we're bonding like this." Oh, you're a Vulcan. You're going into shock. Vulcans laughing means they're in shock. No.
Very good. So yes, a little reminiscing between Riker and Picard,
where he is apparently told this whole story. He's wearing his Independence jacket, by the way.
Oh yes, I noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah. over what looks like a blue shirt. Oh, no, it's just grey.
Yeah.
And he's, I don't know what it was. It could be an illusion. Could have been a dream.
Yes.
Maybe it was all a dream. Maybe I was just stuck in the transport bubble for 18 seconds, just like Ocean that one time.
Like, yes. It's a little bit of reminiscing. It's like it doesn't feel like how near-death experiences usually are. But, and he questions Q's, like, I mean, did I just make it up? Because this just doesn't feel like Q.
Or that he would demonstrate so much
Which
compassion.
he didn't.
Didn't he?
He set the whole thing up, and then he made him beg to have it undone again. Basically, well, a little bit of hoisting by your own petard again.
Hoisting by your own Picard?
Yes. I mean,
what he gave Picard,
yeah,
is the sort of respect and gratitude for his life. Like, the Jewish perspective that I mentioned earlier, or our Jewish perspective that I learned, that life itself is the gift. It's irreplaceable. And he spent much of his adult life regretting a huge part of it, right? That he was, not respecting a huge part of his life, his one life.
Yeah.
And he came out of this experience with a lot more respect for it.
Right.
Which I also understand. I mean, you
Okay, I mean, like, yes. So I guess my assumption or my feeling that the Picard that there is would have realized that he is the man he is because of how his life went, apparently didn't.
I mean, Picard is not... He's many things, but he's not a people person.
True.
Right? The sort of people management on his ship is done by Riker and Troy.
Yes.
And the department heads, and not him. Which is also, like, that's one of the roles of the executive officer, right?
Right. Yeah.
They're responsible for providing the captain with a well-functioning ship.
Right.
Captain sets the policy and the standards.
Which is interesting because, like, it's generally implied that you don't become a captain unless you're first a first officer. So the captain should have those skills.
Not everyone's great at everything.
Yeah, true.
And, maybe that's why he was promoted out of first officership, just because he wasn't that great at those parts.
But Riker seems to be amused by it all.
Yeah.
I was just trying to imagine a hell-bent for leather young officer insulting a Nausicaan twice his size.
Yeah.
I wish I had a chance to know that Jean-Luc Picard.
Right, because, I mean, yeah, he's a few... Yes, exactly.
Flirty.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still a few years younger, and yes, we all know that Riker does love a good brawl.
Yeah. And, young officer in, I don't know, meet me in the holodeck with I'll bring my riding boots. That sounds like a good time.
Yes. You bring your own saddle, because, serious riders have... And he goes into a story about, having that's not his first run-in with Nausicaan, so,
No, and these are probably stories that he hasn't told before, because he's ashamed of them.
Oh, could be, yeah.
And now he gets to...
During my sophomore year, I was assigned to training on Morrigan 7.
Yes. And a Nausicaan outpost on one of the asteroids, and one day...
Yeah. Well done. Well done.
Well, that's how the episode ends.
So how do you feel about it now? Do you stand by your reading of Q as a malevolent, selfish imp?
Ooh, I don't know.
Which is fine, right?
I don't know. It's like there's. I'm not prepared to embrace your entire Q wants to better humanity and Picard especially.
And nor do I expect or want you.
I mean, I can
right?
see your. I can see your point there. But I don't know. It's like that's always the problem with Q. You don't know what his actual motives are. Even when he comes crawling for help, you don't know if he's actually in trouble or if he's just doing another setup.
Yeah.
It's like he's basically like the Fae, It's like they have their own.
Oh, that's.
They have their own rules. They have their own games. They have their own. Their games are always unfair. And
but if
the
you
reward,
use them, they might reward you with riches that you can't imagine.
Exactly.
Oh, what was it? And sometimes they take your children and they come back.
Even if they come back, they are changed. And
they know things they shouldn't, and they don't know things they should.
Yes, and their food is like. And if you taste their food, and you
never want anything else
again. Yes.
This is from an excellent Tumblr thread from a non-password protected Tumblr that you shared with me.
Yes.
About how humans to wild animals are like fae
yes.
to us.
And a lot of times it's a lot of problem tree for animals is well, if everything else fails, you might as well go approach a human because they just might help you. They might kill you.
Yeah.
But they just might help you.
Because they can do anything and they have their food is endless.
Yeah, that too. So,
yeah.
What would you say was
so fucking cool?
Man, Q, like this is one of the key episodes from my view of Q as someone who's not just like benevolent, but acts out of love. Now, the interesting thing about that is someone who acts out of love doesn't have to be a good person or even kind.
True.
Right? And the results don't even have to be objectively good. I think, for example, about like parents who let children learn painful or even damaging lessons.
Oh, yes.
Right? Yeah. Like, yeah.
You've got to fall out of that tree sometime. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to fucking yeet you off a sequoia
off the balcony,
or anything,
yes.
but it, you know, as an uncle, I'm not a parent myself, but like, I see that my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law take a very cautious approach with their children, and their children ask permission a lot. I think I've mentioned this before.
Yeah.
And I feel that therefore, as an uncle, it's my responsibility to make the world a little wilder for them.
Introduce a little bit of chaos here. Yeah.
Yeah, so that when moments have occurred that they ask me whether they want to do something, you know, whether they're allowed to do something, I'll ask them, do you think it's a good idea?
Yeah.
And accept the answer that they give. And, okay, now you've got some consequences, something that you're not used to having.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
And you're still protected, right?
Of course, yeah.
You get to explore it a little bit.
Yeah.
More. And that's how I think Q approaches the world.
Sure, yeah.
And, like, he did save Picard from death. I'm fully convinced.
Oh, yes. Well, yes.
No, I changed my mind. I love that we can watch the same episode, we can watch this same series, and come away with it with these different perspectives. Yes. That's what I love. How about you?
Oh, I think mine's going to go to the Nausicaans, because I think they were pretty cool.
Like, yeah, we didn't talk about them at all, besides the hair. But what's with those teeth?
I don't know. They kind of like have. It's
they have
like
one
baby,
going up, and two going sideways.
It's kind of like a predator mouth, but not quite as wide open.
What do they eat?
I don't know. Maybe that's just their grasping mandibles. And then
and the actual mouth.
And they just kind of hold the food down, and they use in their mouth.
Then they've got a proboscis.
Oh, maybe, or just like they did use it to pull it into their mouth and then like nibble and chew in it. But yes, so,
probably on someone's
it goes to the
tumbler. Well
it goes
done.
To the Nausicaans for me.
And they're tall. Gosh, they
are very tall. Yes. Okay, that brings us to
Captain's Log Supplemental.
Do you got anything?
Sure.
Yeah. Do you?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Hit me with yours because I'm kind of stumped, honestly.
Scenes in the White Room. David Bowie in the background recording Life on Mars.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Standing there going like, is there life on Mars?
Oh, okay. Then I think mine is, let me see. Yes, it's the scenes in the bar.
Yeah.
Except filmed from different angles.
Yeah.
Where we see that not just the bartender, but literally everyone in the bar is Q.
Right.
And they just haven't fucking noticed.
Yeah. Leaning into my theory that like it's Q. It's not real time travel.
Yeah,
it's just like Q having a little pocket universe to.
Yeah, because like building an entire universe is easier than actually simulating a scene.
Exactly.
It's more convenient.
I mean, that's weird because like then you have an entire universe in which you can have a holodeck, which you can also do this in.
Yeah,
so
but
like how many VMs do we need to get this working?
Spoken like a nerd. Thank you to Bill Ricardi for this recommendation, and lovely to hear from you again. We've worked together in the past.
Hella fun episode to watch.
Yeah, a really great suggestion, and also that theme. Actually, there's one more thing to say about that that theme. We are who we are because of the mistakes we've made.
Yeah,
and that also goes for young people that we meet. Right in life.
I've just had less time to think about it.
Not just that, but like. I've thought about young people that I've seen where I had the opportunity to like maybe give them advice or maybe like chastise them for some misbehavior or whatever.
Yeah.
But I've actually been thinking about like, should I give them the opportunity to like make those mistakes and learn it on your own? Yeah. Am I removing them a learning opportunity? Huge responsibility, fortunately.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm fortunate not to be a parent. Anyway, thanks to Bill, and let's see what we have in store next week.
Next time on an all-new episode of Star Trek.
And while I looked it up, why don't you tell the listeners at home the usual thing that we tell them at this point?
Yes, because we always talk about episodes that have been suggested to us by our listeners. And if you would like to make a suggestion yourself, you can go to joyoftrek.com/links.
Nailed it!
Again, twice in a row. I'm getting there.
Well done.
Where you can leave a little bit of feedback and tell us why you love this particular episode more than anybody else. And should you find it in your wallet to do a little sponsoring of us, there's also a link to our Patreon there. Keep the lights on at the studio, pay for the hosting bills and stuff like that.
thank you. And yes, if everyone at home could do me a favor, check out joyoftrek.com/links to check whether Kay was indeed right, which I happen to know, but let's double check, right? And indeed, while you're there. And so out of the many excellent recommendations that we received, our beloved chief engineer has pulled one from his hat.
And selected a few quotes, and we're going to be guessing what next episode we're going to be doing next.
Starting with this one.
I'm robbing these street punks so we can all dress up in old-timey outfits.
Okay.
Lower Decks.
What was the first? I'm robbing
these street punks.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Right, who else talks about punks? Then again, let's find out clue 2.
Kid, you gotta take water breaks in there. Holodeck might be fake, but dehydration is real.
Okay.
Okay, is another holodeck one. Let's see.
Well, dressing up in old-timey outfits seems like a thing that you would do for the holodeck.
Oh, yeah, true.
What, does it make an alternate cinematic timeline that runs concurrent to our own, like with the different people playing younger versions of us?
Okay.
Tricky lines. I applaud the chief for managing it.
I mean,
I think, that it's...
It sounds Lower Deck-ish, yeah, but...
Oh, I want to say Paradoxus.
What is Paradoxus?
Oh, that's the subtitle for Critical Crisis Point. We watched Lower Deck's Crisis Point.
Yeah.
Right? Do you remember the holodeck episode where the thing went and they for themselves? It's got a sequel.
Oh, okay.
Called Crisis Point 2 Paradoxes. I'm hoping.
Oh my gosh, Captain Sulu, even better.
Whoa.
Sulu. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, this could still be a holodeck thing.
One more.
Isn't Section 31 supposed to be like a really big secret? I mean, why would we wear special comm badges that advertise who we are?
That sounds still more Lower Deck. It's,
right?
Like it's too meta to be any of the other series.
All right, let's find out. What we're doing next week is...
Dodge some title sequences because the episode is Lower Deck's Crisis Point 2.
Yes.
Paradoxus.
Paradoxus!
Yes, very good. Excellent. Well done.
Thank you. Oh, we're in for a treat. Oh, thank you for whoever recommended that.
I guess someone had us do the first after we did the first episode, when well, I want the sequel to this as well.
Oh, that's so brilliant.
So that will only leave us with one more thing.
I'm leaving Starfleet.
Energize!
We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode with your friends Kay and Kaki, production and editing by your chief engineer Greg, and music by Fox Amor. Join us next time for Crisis Point 2 Paradoxus, Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 8. Visit joyoftrek.com/links to send us your recommendations, support us on Patreon, or to find us on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening to The Joy of Trek, and we'll see you out there.